whereas this driver mechanism will not need routine maintenance. This is the dust cover. Again, this fits over, and we leave. You notice that I left this in place because we use this tool to set the dust cover as well. So that just drops over like that. Then we do exactly the same thing. Press this over like that. And now when we tighten it down, what it's going to do is press the dust cover over the bearing surface of the cassette body itself. And again, the way this tool has been designed, that main bearing is never being loaded. In all of these operations, that main bearing is completely unloaded. And you can see that even no matter how tight I make this, it puts no drag on the bearing itself. It can turn easily like that. So press that down until it's done. Remove that. Take that out of there, and now we'll remove the setting tube. Oop. And now we have successfully installed the Shimano cassette body and removed the Campy cassette body. And now all we need to do is install the axle and install the end cap and adjust the hub. Now, I like to use a little bit of grease on the axle itself, just on the bearing surfaces. So here, here, and here. This is a waterproof synthetic grease. It's very nice. It helps everything to slide together easily, and also it prevents the possibility of there getting galling and drying out in there. So I'll put that in. And again, I also have started putting that slick honey in this area as well. Again, it's not necessary, but it creates an additional seal. Basically, it's just a grease bath. And if you do this, it's very important that you only use slick honey or slick oleum. Any other grease is too thick and will cause excessive drag. This grease adds no perceptible drag. So this will go in and just press it in until it makes contact with the bearing there. Now, the next step, what you should do, at this point, you should install your cassette stack and lock ring. The reason for that is that if you apply pressure this way without the cassette stack and lock ring installed, it's possible to move the cassette body away from the shoulder on the inside here. It's very unlikely that that'll happen because it's a press fit here, and this dust cover is also a press fit. But at this point, there's no reason not to install the cassette stack. You're going to need to do it anyway, so it's a good idea to go ahead and install it at this point. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm not going to install it, but at this point you would take your set of gears, put it on, and put your lock ring on and tighten it to the proper torque that's recommended by the manufacturer. Usually it's 40 Newton meters of torque is the proper amount of torque. Anyway, so we've got the bearing, we've got everything installed, and we've got the axle pushed through here, and now we're going to install the threaded adjuster on that side. And finally, again, keeping with my theory of adding to the sealing by putting a grease bath here, I like to put a little grease on this one as well. And now you'll notice that each outside edge that's actually exposed to the elements, in addition to the seal on the bearing and the nice fit on the dust cover, there's an additional grease bath to help repel water and seal the entire mechanism there. Okay, so now we've got to there, and this is going to thread onto here. Now, because you're using the same axle, there may be some Loctite on here that makes it a little bit tight when you first start to put it on. So just make sure that it's going on evenly, so that you're not cross-threading it. It's easy to do. But before you put any more Loctite on here, just go ahead and make sure that your new end cap is going to thread easily onto the system. Okay, we do need more Loctite. So make sure that these threads are clean and dry. Make sure there's no lubrication on them at all, because if there's lubrication on the threads, it will diminish the performance of Loctite. I like to use the Loctite Quick Sticks, which is the paste, Quick Sticks number 248. However, the liquid blue Loctite will work fine here as well. Although if you apply the liquid Loctite, make sure that when you apply it, it's running down this way. You don't want to hold it this way, so that you don't want the Loctite to actually move towards the bearing. So if you apply the liquid Loctite, make sure you're holding the hub or the wheel such that if it runs, it's running away from the bearing, not towards it. It's one of the reasons I like the paste. It's cleaner and easier to use. Anyway, I just take a very small amount and put it on a small screwdriver, and I'll draw a line about, maybe 1/4 of an inch wide in 3 spots around the axle, roughly equally spaced, but it doesn't matter. You can see the paste you can apply, so you're not getting anywhere near the bearing or anything like that. So when you're done, you'll have a line of Loctite in 3 spots there. And then we'll go ahead and install this here. And here you just want to thread it on until it just makes contact with the bearing. Now you don't want to tighten it any further than that. And ideally, although you may not be able to do this because there may be some Loctite on the axle from before, ideally it's really nice if you can just do this by hand. So you just bring it up so you can feel that it's made contact with the bearing, but you're not putting any preload on the bearing. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're actually going to back that off 90 degrees. So once you've got it, the end cap threaded up to make contact with the bearing, use any kind of a Allen wrench. You need one in one end, one in the other, so that it's easy to tell that you've turned it counterclockwise 90 degrees. The reason for that is all hubs should be adjusted with a little bit of bearing play, because quick release loads actually cause compression of the axle and bearing system. So doing that, backing it off, allows you to have proper bearing adjustment when the quick release is tight, which is of course when it matters. It doesn't matter if the hub is properly adjusted without the quick release in it. So now I'll show you how to you can make a simple device like this just using a quick release skewer that you have. Old Shimano skewers work great because they have a really nice steel smooth cam action. Old Campy skewers work great as well. I'd stay away from a lot of the new style of skewer that have the external cam. Those don't work as well. So usually it's pretty easy to find an old Shimano or Campy skewer. Basically, I've got these pieces here, but all you need to do is use washers that take up the space here and here. So what we're doing here is we're simulating what the hub is going to feel like when it's actually clamped in the frame. So this piece fits over there. I've just got a big washer here that fits over there. And then put on your nut and adjust it the same way you would as if you're putting this in a frame. In other words, most quick releases are designed to close through a 90-degree arc. So you adjust it so that when you start closing the lever, you can feel that the cam makes contact right when the lever is directly in line with the hub, in line with the axle. And then you'll be able to close it through a 90-degree arc. And then just tighten it a tiny bit, and you can feel how smooth the bearings are. And then tighten it completely and do it again. Now what you should find here is that by tightening it, it should remove any play that's in the bearing system, but it shouldn't increase the drag. So the reason you check it at 2 spots with essentially no compression force and then full compression force is you actually want the bearings to feel the same when you turn the axle like this in both positions. If when you tighten it the drag goes up noticeably, then you'll need to remove the skewer and loosen the end cap just a little bit. Likewise, if you tighten it and the bearing drag feels the same, but there's a little bit of play in the system, then you need to tighten it just a tiny bit. And so I found that 90 degrees, backing it off 90 degrees from initial contact, works 99% of the time. But if you do need to fine tune it, it's easy. Just take the skewer out and then adjust it accordingly. Anyway, this hub is now ready to go. It's been converted from Campy to Shimano, and just take this out and install the wheel in your bike, and you're all set.